and gentlemen. Okay, there you go, sir. You got my back. We're going to show you a quick video, and then from there we'll get the ceremony on the road.
And please silence your cell phones at this time. We don't want them ringing during the ceremony.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I say your name. You solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of those officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
We celebrate Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. The armistice that began on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The timing of this holiday is quite deliberate in terms of historical fact. But somehow it always seems quite fitting to me that this day comes deep in autumn when the colors are muted and the days seem to invite contemplation. It is, in a way, an odd thing to honor those who died in defense of our country, in defense of us, in wars far away. The imagination plays a trick. We see these soldiers in our mind as old and wise, but most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands and fathers and grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. And all we can do is remember. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. In memory of those who gave the last full measure of devotion, may our efforts to achieve lasting peace gain strength. Let us make a vow to our dead. Let us show them by our actions that we understand what they died for. Strengthened by their courage, heartened by their value, and borne by their memory, let us continue to stand for the ideals for which they lived and died.
a year, Daddy. I really, really miss you. Mommy says you're safe now in a beautiful place called heaven.
Oh, thinking about our younger years.
We had your favorite dinner tonight,
There was only you and me.
and I ate it all
We were
up.
young and wild and free.
Even though I don't like carrots.
Now nothing can take you away from me.
I learned how to swim this summer,
We've been down that road before.
and I could even open my
It's
eyes
over now.
when I'm underwater.
Keep me coming back for more.
Can you see me? I miss you, Daddy.
Baby, you're all that I want. When you're lying here in my arms, finding it hard to believe we're in heaven.
It's been 5 years, Daddy.
Love is all that I need.
I'm in 5th grade
I
now.
found it there in your heart.
I really like
It
computers,
isn't too hard to see.
but math is hard.
Heaven.
Mommy lets me sleep in one of your t-shirts.
Oh, once in your life you find someone
I think it still smells like you.
who will turn your world around.
I don't need to sleep with the light on anymore.
Up when you're feeling down.
I'm trying not to cry, Daddy, but it still hurts.
Now nothing can change what you mean to me.
I really miss you, Daddy.
There's a lot that I could say. Just hold me now.
Can you see me? Can you see
Cause
me?
a love will light the way.
It's been 10 years, Daddy.
Baby, you're all that I want.
I started high school.
You're lying here in my arms.
I made the honor roll.
Finding it hard to believe.
I hope you're proud of me.
Heaven.
I'm also on the soccer team.
Love is all that I need.
Can you see me on the field?
Found it there in your heart. It isn't too hard to see.
I started thinking about colleges.
Heaven.
Do you think I could be a doctor?
Now our dreams are coming true. Through the good times and the bad.
I know you'll be with me when I walk down the aisle.
Standing there by you.
I try not to be sad,
Baby, you're all that I want.
but it hurts.
See you lying here in my arms, finding it hard to believe we're in heaven.
I hope you know you're my hero.
Love is all that I need, and I found it there in your heart. It isn't too hard to see we're in heaven.
I love you so much. Can you see me? Can you see me?
I miss you, Daddy. I really miss you, Daddy.
I miss you, Daddy.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
morning and welcome to today's ceremony. I and Cadet Second Lieutenant Juliana Bell, Battalion S2 Assistant and narrator for today's assembly. Today, we honor veterans of the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard who have served their country and particularly those who have made the supreme sacrifice in assuring our freedom. We will now be, I don't know if she's moving forward. Arrayed before you is the Army Junior Reserves Officers Training Corps Hornet Battalion, commanded by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Hunter B. Shaver. Formed behind him is the Executive Officer Cadet Major Maximus Wilcox. Following behind him, we have the battalion staff. These cadets are Cadet Captain Sariga Suresh, Cadet Major Lily Stewart, Cadet Captain Joshua Romero, Cadet Captain Olivia Cardenas, and Cadet Captain Nancy Larkins. The color guard is commanded by the Hornet Battalion Command Sergeant Major Quincy Ariano. Company commanders for today's ceremony are Cadet Captain Gilbert Villapondo of Alpha Company and Cadet Captain Leon Rogers of Bravo Company. I would like to take a few minutes to introduce guests from our community and school district. Please stand to be recognized when I announce your name. Please hold your applause until all guests have been introduced. Today, we would like to thank our Pueblo School District Board of Directors, and with us today, we welcome President Ann Och. From the District 70 administrators, we have Rhonda Ryan, our superintendent. We have Bob DiPetro, assistant superintendent, and Lynette Bonfilio, public information officer. Representing our school is our principal, Mr. Brian Dilka, and our assistant principal, Aaron Lewin and Ryan Moore. We would like to thank him and our outstanding staff and teachers of Pueblo County High School for being here and supporting the JROTC program. Please give these guests a round of applause. Thank you. At this time, we want to recognize our distinguished guests who are members of the armed forces, veterans from our school, and members of veteran and patriotic organizations in our community. Again, please stand when I call your name and remain standing. Please hold your applause until all guests have been introduced. Representing our local recruiting offices of the armed forces today are from the United States Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Martinez, and from the National Guard Staff Sergeant Rowland and Staff Sergeant Paleo. Please give these guests a round of applause. Thank you. At this time, we're going to recognize staff from Pueblo County High School who are veterans. Please stand to be recognized when I call your name. Pueblo County High School counselor, Ms. Florence Downs. Mrs. Florence Downs was an Army combat veteran who drove trucks hauling ammunition during Operation Desert Storm. Next, we have our SEEBS math and science teacher, Mrs. Vicki Boker. Mrs. Vicki Boker was an armed reservist called to active duty for Operation Desert Storm. She drove a fuel tanker truck providing fuel support to the Army in the combat zone. Next, we have our assistant principal, Mr. Ryan Moore. Mr. Ryan Moore served in Iraq as a 19D providing security and reconnaissance. Next, we have our security resource officer, Michael Gallardo. Officer Michael Gallardo served in the Marine Corps and did a tour in Afghanistan. He was a motor vehicle operator specializing in transportation. Finally, we have our Army Junior ROTC instructors, Major Retired Andrew Smith and Sergeant Major Retired Arnold Lewis. Please give our teachers and staff a round of applause. Thank you again. At this time, I want to take a few minutes to recognize the veterans with us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand or raise your hand as I call your name. Please hold your applause until all names have been called, and I am so sorry if I mispronounce any of your names. First, we have E5 Sergeant John Guerrero and AC John Montoya, SP4 John Solano, Sergeant Joseph Holmes, Corporal Sam Stevens, E4 Spec, I'm so sorry, Richard Curtis, Master Sergeant Thomas Caulfield, Petty Officer Second Class Dennis Larkin, Colonel Rodney McCutcheon, Corporal Adam Hatchell, Corporal Charles Coletti, and Specialist Mike Knox. Please give these veterans a round of applause. Thank you. Representing family of Pueblo County High School graduates killed in the Vietnam War are Mr. John Solano and members of his family, the family of Mr. Dan Hanratty, and the family of Private First Class Mr. Thomas Michael Hanratty. If we have any other veterans who have yet to be recognized in the audience, please stand to be recognized at this time. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service and sacrifice. Please join me in recognizing all of our special guests with a large, warm round of applause. Seated in the audience are our county high school student body officers. Please stand when your name is called. We have President Ms. Jessie Christie and Vice President Ms. Jade Moore, and I don't know if she's here, but Secretary Ms. Dulce Venezuela. Please give our student body officers a round of applause. Now, at this time, the battalion will prepare for honors to the nation. Please rise. The Pueblo County High School Voices, under the direction of Mr. Brooke Mead, will sing the Star-Spangled Banner. Please stand for our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. Armistice Day, which was observed annually at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, was originally recognized for the day the armistice agreement between the Germans and the Western Allies went into effect to mark the end of World War I. After World War II, Congress declared that Americans should recognize all veterans, and particularly those who did not return from foreign battlefields, on November 11th, the day we now call Veterans Day. Today, we pay tribute to all men and women of the armed forces, past and present, and reflect on how their sacrifices have helped to preserve democracy and keep our nation safe and strong. In the history of our country, over 1 million men and women have lost their lives in the preservation of freedom and our American way of life. Current combat operations in Afghanistan and the Homeland Defense operations here in the United States are constant reminders to us that our American way of life does not come without sacrifice. While we enjoy freedom every day in the United States, members of the armed forces are frequently killed or wounded in combat around the world. Pueblo County High School has contributed its share to the growing number of veterans. Many of our former students, as well as relatives, both men and women, have faithfully served their country and are continuing to serve as leaders in their communities. Others are still on active duty and in the reserve components, serving both at home, afloat, and abroad. There are many who serve to protect our freedom in lonely and dangerous places. 6 former Pueblo County High School students have made the supreme sacrifice by giving their lives in service to their country during the war in Vietnam. These deceased veterans are represented by the 6 sets of camouflaged helmets and boots arrayed in front of and centered on the color guard. Through our research, we have found 296 veterans from World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and about 63 veterans from the Vietnam War from Pueblo County. These 6 individuals who we remember today are Army Specialist Ruben Aragon, class of 1965, Private First Class Mike Hanratty, class of 1963, Private First Class David Heller, class of 1966, Corporal Danny Rubal, class of 1965, Staff Sergeant Sam Solano, class of 1965, and Army Specialist Pete Valdez, class of 1967. Before you is a table. Name the Missing in Action table or the Prisoner of War table. The Missing Man table is a small table, set for 1, symbolizing the isolation of the absent service member. The table is round, to represent the everlasting concern the survivors have for the missing. A white tablecloth symbolizes the pure intentions of the service members who responded to the country's call to arms. A single rose in the vase symbolizes the blood that service members have shed in sacrifice to ensure the freedom of the United States of America. This rose also represents the family and friends who keep the faith while awaiting the return of the missing service members. The red ribbon represents a love of country that inspired the service members to serve. A slice of lemon on the bread plate that represents the bitter fate of the missing. Salt sprinkled on the bread plate that symbolizes the tears shed by waiting families. An inverted glass to represent the fact that the missing and fallen cannot partake in the evening's toast. A Bible represents the spiritual strength and faith to sustain the lost. A lit candle symbolizes a light of hope that lives in hearts to illuminate the missing's way home. And an empty chair to represent the absence of the missing and fallen. Our flag detail will now get into position for the next part of our ceremony. The last roll call is a final tribute paid by soldiers to their fallen comrades. It has its origin in the accountability roll call conducted by the unit first sergeant following combat. Although sometimes painful to listen through, the last roll call is called with the conviction held by soldiers that all unit members will be accounted for and none will ever be forgotten. Sergeant Major Lewis will now conduct the last roll call.
Today, across the world in America, something like a solemn day, that we lose soldiers every day. One of the things that we, as Pueblo County, we lost a dear sister yesterday. Right now, it's probably an angel in heaven. But we want to talk about our veterans across the world that's celebrating this weekend. Some have gone and passed, and some probably in the hospitals or whatever the case may be. So that's why we celebrate this day, to recognize our veterans. I will call the numerous people, and they will stand and acknowledge me. Ms. Florence Downs. Mr. Mike Knox. Ms. Vicki Boker. Mr. Ryan Moore. Mr. Joseph Samuel Fodor. Mr. Joseph Samuel Fodor. Mr. Joseph Samuel Fodor. Thank you, ma'am.
The tradition of a ceremonial firing party to honor deceased members of a nation's army is attributed to soldiers of old, who would demonstrate their peaceful intentions to visiting foreign dignitaries by rendering their firearms ineffective. In the United States, the custom of a ceremonial firing party, or 21-gun salute, followed by the playing of the bugle call taps, became the official custom of the U.S. Armed Forces during the Civil War. This custom was adopted to honor the deceased on behalf of a grateful nation at military funerals. In a moment, the ceremonial firing party will fire 3 volleys of 7 shots, or 21 in all. This will be followed immediately by the playing of taps. Please be respectful of this tribute to our veterans by remaining silent. Please rise and remain standing until the playing of taps is completed. remain standing and join me in a moment of silence in honor of our veterans and our nation. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, our JROTC flag detail will be conducting a flag folding ceremony. In the U.S. Armed Forces, at the ceremony of retreat, the flag is lowered, folded into a triangle fold, and kept under watch throughout the night as a tribute to our nation's fallen. The next morning, it is brought out, and at the ceremony of reveal, run aloft as a symbol of our belief in the resurrection of the body. The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold signifies our belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and tribute of the veterans departing our ranks and who gave a portion of his or her life for the defense of our country to attain peace. The fourth fold exemplifies our weaker nature as citizens trusting in God. It is to him we turn to for his divine guidance. The fifth fold is an acknowledgement to our country, for in the words of Stefan Dechter, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all enemies. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day, and to honor our mother, for whom it flies on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is an honor to womanhood, for it has been through their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of the men and women who have made this country great have been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to Father, for he too has given his sons and daughters for the defense of our country since he or she was first born. The 11th fold, in the eyes of Hebrew citizens, represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon and glorifies, in their eyes, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold, in the eyes of a Christian citizen, represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies, in their eyes, God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. The last fold, when the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our national motto, "In God we trust." Thank you. I would like to introduce a guest speaker, Colonel McCutcheon, to speak with us.
How's everybody doing? How do I sound? Can everybody hear me back over to the left? Raise your hand if you can hear me. All right. How about to the right? Can you hear me over here? All right. So first I want to say thank you to Sergeant Major Lewis, Major Smith, for inviting me to speak here today. Good morning to all the students, to the faculty, family, friends, and community members. I am Colonel Rodney McCutcheon. I am the 4th Commander at U.S. Army Pueblo Chemical Depot right down the street here. So I'm honored to be here today to represent the Depot family. And I know many of you have a personal connection to the Depot and its 82 years of legacy through your parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and great-grandparents. But I'm not here today to talk about the Depot. I'm here to talk about my other family, those of who had answered the call to serve the United States military. So how many of you here today have a relative or friend that has served in the military? Raise your hand for me. Okay, that's what I'm talking about, right? Everybody has a part to play when it comes to supporting this nation. So we took a poll of veterans and those that currently serve in any branch of the armed forces. A large percentage will tell you that they chose to serve because of someone else inspired them to. Oftentimes, I hear young soldiers tell family traditions and a duty to serve our nation are the prime reasons they chose to join the armed forces. You know, for me, I didn't have anyone to serve in my family, so I learned about the military through the South Carolina State University, which is the school I attended in Little Orangeburg, South Carolina. There in Orangeburg, there's a great Green Line tradition, and when I learned about it, when I heard about it, when all the alumni came back who did great things for our nation, it was an obligation for me to join and serve as well. So some of you have probably never considered the military as a viable career option. I would encourage you to take a look at that again. The soldiers are a very diverse set of professionals from all backgrounds who have unique skills and experiences. Those diverse backgrounds and perspectives directly result in the greatest fighting force we have in the United States of America and across the globe. And in turn, those services make them invaluable contributors to the organizations and communities they become a part of once they're done with their service. And for those like me who make it a lifetime career, time in the service can be fulfilling in ways you've never imagined. So for example, from 2015 to 2017, I got a chance to serve in South Korea. I got a chance to live downtown Seoul, Korea. It's pretty much like living in downtown New York City. And I had heated floors, a great view, and it was the most amazing thing I got a chance to live in for 2 whole years. It was hard for me to imagine having that same opportunity doing some other career. So that's kind of my story of how important and wonderful experience I've had. So the U.S. now has the largest population of young veterans since the Vietnam War. We owe it to these men and women to make sure that they transition from active duty careers with the skills and experience to find meaningful employment and a place in our communities. Soldiers live by Army values, which are loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. They do not leave behind their values and skills when they transition to civilian life. Maintaining a lifelong identification with the Army, Army soldiers are not former soldiers, they are soldiers for life and uniquely qualified to advocate for and connect to the public with the Army by telling their Army stories. So additionally, there are many opportunities to serve as the partner of the Army civilians. So these are folks that serve that don't wear a uniform, but they 100% contribute to the mission of the military. In fact, about half of the Department of Army Civilian Force is made up of Army veterans. And because of their military service, veterans are able to have a fulfilling career and even potentially retire earlier than other employees that have not served. So right now, all around the country, veterans from all services are teachers and doctors, engineers, social workers, community leaders, first responders, and elected officials. They continue to serve our communities by making positive contributions, building stronger futures, and inspiring future generations. For nearly a century, we have observed Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting along the Western Front in World War I on November 11th, 1918. Y'all heard that a few times today in the video and with folks standing up here. In 1938, Congress made Armistice Day an official annual national holiday. Then in 1954, its name was changed to Veterans Day. So while Memorial Day is a time to remember all those who died in service of our country, Veterans Day is a time to remember all those who served, past and present. To any veterans present, I encourage you to share your experiences and tell your stories. To the students, I encourage you to listen to those stories, learn our nation's history, and make history yourselves. Our veterans have kept us free. Those who have returned home and continue to serve our nation do so in a multitude of ways. Those that did not return are remembered in the hearts of those who left behind, and their sacrifice reminds us that freedom is absolutely not free. So regardless of the military branch in which our veterans served in, whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, or Space Force, this day belongs to them. Generations of patriots have dedicated themselves to the defense of our country, to make us stronger and more resilient as a nation. Today and over the weekend, we say thank you to them all. To any veterans in the audience, I want to personally extend my gratitude to you. Thank you for your service. Thank you all for allowing me to come out today to speak with you, be the guest speaker on Veterans Day. This is so important. And on that note, can I get a big and loud hoo-ah? Hoo-ah! Thank you.
The JROTC department would like to thank Colonel McCutcheon for taking time out of his busy schedule to attend this ceremony. Thank you, sir. The Army Junior ROTC department and the Hornet Battalion would also like to extend a very special thank you to Mr. Brooke Mead and the Pueblo County High School Voices, Mrs. Mitchell Proviziano from the Media Center, trumpeter Kennedy Winchester from the County Band, Mrs. Jane Ortiz and our school custodial staff, and Mr. Jared Pacheco, as well as the entire Sting TV crew for broadcasting this live. The Pueblo County High School Voices will now sing America the Beautiful.
Beautiful
With the final note of America the Beautiful played, the Hornet Battalion will now conduct the JROTC Creed.
Battalion, attention! Agreed. I am an Army Junior ROTC cadet. I will always conduct myself to bring credit to my family, country, school, and the Corps of Cadets. I am loyal and patriotic. I am the future of the United States of America. I do not lie, cheat, or steal, and always be accountable for my actions and deeds. I will always practice good citizenship and patriotism. I will work hard to improve my mind and strengthen my body. I will seek the mantle of leadership and stand prepared to uphold the Constitution of the American way of life. May God give us strength to rise above His creed.
This week, please remember and appreciate the contributions and sacrifices made by our nation's veterans and to those who still serve. Let us pay tribute to their achievements and join them in their resolve to keep America strong and free. And if you have a relative or close friend who is a veteran, don't forget to thank them for their service to America. Thank you for your attendance, and please stand by for instructions from Mr. Dilka. Have a wonderful day.
Good morning. I'm going to get everybody out of here in an orderly fashion, but before I do that this morning, I'd like to recognize that it certainly is a solemn day to be a Pueblo County Hornet, and I want to state that I admire the support, the grit, the determination, and the level of care that Pueblo County Hornets have for each other. So at this time, I'd like to state that I'm deeply humbled to be the leader of this school, and student body, I ask you to give yourselves a large round of applause. It's also appropriate to acknowledge one last time all our veterans and community guests that are in attendance. Hornets, round of applause. And I believe, if I'm speaking correctly, one special person, I believe the oldest veteran in attendance today, is the grandfather of Mrs. Johnson, and that would be Sam Stevens. Sam Stevens, rise. Let's give you a round of applause. 98 years young. Okay, it'll take us just a minute to get out of here in an orderly manner. Our veterans and guests, there is a reception in the ROTC room that you're invited and welcome to attend. At this time, seniors, you're dismissed. Let's clap out our seniors, please. We're reporting to fourth period or first lunch.